We're on.
Okay, do you want me to introduce you?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce to you Michelle Tagliamonte. Thank you for being here, Michelle. So Michelle, motivated to get well and avoid a family legacy of chronic disease, began her journey to wellness in 2001 and quickly became focused on learning as much as possible about the relationship between nutrition and disease. As Michelle and her family added Juice Plus to their diets and made other easy health changes, their health picture quickly and dramatically changed for the better. And Michelle embarked on a mission to help as many people as possible take control of their health with whole food nutrition and Juice Plus. Along her journey, Michelle became a certified health coach with the Dr. Sears Wellness Institute, as well as a certified women's health instructor and food over medicine instructor with Wellness Forum Health. Michelle is passionate about helping others build a legacy and create options for themselves and their families so they can experience a life of abundance and fulfillment. Michelle and her husband Andre live in Centerville, Ohio, and have two daughters. Gabby is 22 and teaches 8th grade math in Hamilton, Ohio, and Nina, 20, is a junior at Miami University. Michelle loves cycling, running, and yoga, and traveling and entertaining with her husband. Thank you, Michelle, for being here and doing this event for us.
It is my pleasure. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen here because I do have a presentation. I've got a PowerPoint. So hopefully you can all see that. Now, if I'm in your, if all the little faces are in your way along the right, you can move your little faces box over to the left if that helps you. If you're not familiar with Zoom and how that works, you should be able to move it around. But so here's what I want to tell all of you. First of all, is that this presentation is born of my experience as a facilitator of the Devoted Bodies program. So Devoted Bodies is a program that was created by one of my colleagues several years ago, and I've facilitated this several times in my church. So this is normally a 6 or 7 week class, and I've kind of distilled it down to a 30-minute talk, 20 to 30 minutes. So there's a lot that I'm going to kind of breeze through, but I really want you to know that I think that this is super powerful and important, because when I became aware of the link between my understanding of my relationship with food to my relationship with God, and my relationship with God to my relationship with my body, my ability to really take my health seriously and make a difference in my health was that much easier because I was able to give the control to him as well. So bear with me as I go through this, because this is going to be my first time doing this presentation. And so I hope that it's you guys will find benefit in it. All right, so the first thing is, freedom. We want to talk about freedom. You know, a lot of times people are preoccupied with refusing to make changes in their health because they are, they want to resist. They want to eat whatever they want. And they think that we're taking things away from them when we're trying to coach them to eat differently, right? Well, freedom, as it relates to food, is kind of the opposite. You know, the more you give away your freedom, in other words, the more you understand being a little bit more in honoring of your body with what you eat, the more freedom you have with your body. So here's what I want to do. I want us to take a little quiz. This is a 5-question quiz, all right? And I'm going to read these questions to you. I want you to grab a little piece of paper and write down your answers for me, okay? So number 1, if you have no emotional attachment to chocolate, ice cream, brownies, or other sweet treats, coffee, soda, cheese, French fries, juicy steaks, or chips, give yourself a 10. If you need any of these items on a daily basis and would need a 12-step program to stop, give yourself a 1. Now, obviously, this is a spectrum. You're not going to be a 10 or a 1 necessarily. You could be somewhere in the middle, all right? So mark your number down. If you wake up every day full of energy and can do the same physical things you did in your 20s, like running, hiking, biking, etc., give yourself a 10. If your day starts with aches and pains, prescription drugs, little or no energy, or wearing a sign that reads, "Do not talk to me after coffee," give yourself a 1. Or again, where are you on the spectrum? Okay, number 3. If you can pass by a full-length mirror without thinking about the weight you want to lose or altering your body in any way, give yourself a 10. If you think about your weight and your body every single day with some level of dissatisfaction, give yourself a 1. Okay, question number 4. What if someone put a plate of your most tempting food in front of you right now and said you couldn't eat it until after we're done with this whole talk? If you could stay completely focused with no distraction, give yourself a 10. If your brain will become a screaming 2-year-old pleading, can I, please, 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 and you wouldn't comprehend another word because you were so preoccupied, give yourself a 1. And here's the last one. Give yourself a 10 if you can honestly say, my health, my weight, and my relationship with food help support a wonderful self-image. I truly feel fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of the Most High God, and I'm physically ready to take on all that He has purposed for me. Maybe the truth would be more like, I am a disciplined person in every other area of my life. This is a place where I constantly struggle, fight back guilt and condemnation, and even self-loathing. This means you're like most of us, and you can give yourself a 1. Okay, does everybody have their scores? Okay, so your score is somewhere in the range of 5 to 50. If you're a 50, I don't want to hear it. All right, but if you're a 5, I just want you to know that there is absolutely no shame. So there's no shame and there's no reason to brag, no matter what your score is. But what this is a way to know that God's design is for your freedom. And this really shows us the shackles of the choices that we make more clearly than we ever could have expected, right? So this kind of gives you an idea of how free are you really, all right? So keep that number in mind while we're talking tonight, and just know that there is an opportunity and a way for you to feel more free as it comes to your relationship with food. So we're going to talk a little bit about the blessing of the law. And, we as Christians know that, the law as it relates to the Old Testament law really doesn't apply to us anymore. But the law is for our good. The law is for a right relationship with God and beneficial living. And so I'm going to ask you guys a couple of practical questions. As Christians, we know that the 10 Commandments don't include thou shalt not eat Twinkies, right? But there are some natural things that come into play. And, I'm going to give you a couple of examples here. You tell your child, don't touch the hot stove, but he touches the hot stove. Did your child get burned because he disobeyed you? Or does he get burned because he touched the hot stove? Well, we know that he gets burned because he touched the hot stove. And the same goes for, I love the example that's in the original Devoted Bodies text. And it says, you've got 50 people standing at the top of a cliff. You've got 20 prayed up Christians up there standing at the top of the cliff. And you got 25 people, 25 of each, 25 people that are, the worst sinners possible. And everybody jumps. How many people live? None of them. Everybody dies if they jump off the end of a cliff, right? So there is law. There are natural laws, and there are laws that are in place for our health. And so we don't get punished because of our disobedience. We don't get punished for our disobedience. We get punished because of our disobedience when it comes to these things. So the cost of our disobedience, when it comes to disobeying God's commandments or laws, or the things that He says, the biblical truths about the way that we eat, is not eternal hell. But there are lots of believers that are living in physical hell in their own bodies right now. So this scripture really, the scripture here really refers to the ways that we disobey God's design for us and our diet. And the only true freedom comes with walking in obedience to God and making Him Lord of all, including your fork. Okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about God's health plan tonight. And there's really 2 absolutes. And that's the first 2 things on here. And that's the 2 things around the screen here: water and fruits and veggies. So I'm going to read for you guys a little bit about water. First of all, we know that Daniel, in Daniel's regimen, he asked for water and he asked for vegetables, right? And water is an indispensable part of God's health plan. Water is mentioned in 46 out of 66 books of the Bible. It's part of creation. It's part of God's provision. It's part of His blessing and His miracles, and it is essential to life. Not only does it satisfy thirst, but it represents cleansing, redemption, and refreshing, and it's even a symbol for the Holy Spirit. And arguably the most important step you can take in improving your health is drinking water. Your physical body is about 60% water, and your blood is about 80% water. And it turns out that anything added to water activates digestion rather than hydration. Okay? So if you're not a big fan of drinking water, I'm just going to share with you a few things that are part of God's amazing design with respect to water. So first of all, water carries nutrients and oxygen to every cell in our body. It controls the temperature of our body. It helps regulate cholesterol, cleanses the stomach. It's essential for digestion. It cleanses the intestines. It improves the absorption of nutrients. It removes toxins from the body. It lubricates and cushions the joints and provides the body with valuable minerals and electrolytes, including calcium, magnesium, potassium, sodium, and chloride. All right, so you get the idea here, right? But not drinking enough water every day can lead to constipation, intensify our food cravings, cause water retention, flu-like symptoms, lead to lack of energy, depression, weight gain, fluctuating blood sugar levels. A lot of times when we have headaches or we just feel yucky, we just need to drink some water. Research has shown that inadequate water consumption can increase your risk of kidney stones, bladder cancer, heart attacks, and strokes. So if you're someone who waits until you're thirsty before you drink water, just know that you are already dehydrated, all right? And you just really cannot achieve good health or practice proper care for your body without drinking enough water. And then the second thing is fruits and veggies. And the good news is, like I said, these are the only two absolutes. You know, there's definitely differing opinions about the rest of the things that we take into consideration when it comes to our health, but fruits and veggies and water are unequivocally never doubted, right? Fruits and veggies are also an important part of God's provision for our healing. And when he created these foods, he knew. And after many years of nutrition coaching, I am convinced that God's divine design covers it all. You know, his lose weight plan is the same as his overcome fibromyalgia, IBS, and arthritis pain. And we need more of the healing foods of Genesis 1:29, particularly the fruits and vegetables, and less of everything else. There are 25,000 known plant chemicals in fruits and vegetables, and the scientists keep finding more all the time. I've heard upwards of 1 million, okay? God designed our bodies with a constant and chronic need for these substances, and plant foods are the mandatory source. So obviously, I think you can start to appreciate the importance of water and fruits and veggies. And we're going to talk a little bit more about an easy way to get fruits and veggies in your body here toward the end. One thing about his amazing design, when God created these fruits and veggies, he took into consideration caloric sparsity and nutrient density and satiety. So the really amazing thing about fruits and vegetables is they have tons of fiber in them. When we eat fruits and vegetables, a lot of them, we get filled up. There's a lot of water in them. There's fiber in them. They are nutrient dense, but there's not a ton of calories. And so you can look up different nutrient density and caloric density charts online, and you'll see that the most nutrient dense foods have the least amount of calories, and the foods that have the most caloric density typically have the least nutrients. Okay, so things like oil, which, you know, oil is a byproduct of some natural things that God put on this earth, but it is not, a whole food, right? So man-made food, we as man have decided that we know it all, right? And we've created all kinds of man-made foods. And when we think about man-made foods and we talk about man-made foods, these are typically the things that come to our mind, right? But I really want to challenge you also to look at things like, you know, olives. God made olives. Man made olive oil. God made oranges. Man makes orange juice. God made the whole grain. We made the flour. So we've taken out the fiber, we've processed it, we've filtered it, we've taken out a lot of the nutrients, and we've really taken these beautiful whole foods that God created for our provision, and we have altered them to the point where they are now, you know that olive oil is very, very calorically dense, but it is not very nutritionally dense. You have to eat a lot of olives to get the same amount of olive oil that you get in even a tablespoon of olive oil, okay? And with those olives, you're going to be getting the fiber and all the other amazing contents of those olives. So that's what I'm talking about when we're talking about man-made food, we're not just talking about the processed, bagged, canned, stuff. The other thing that we've done is create a lot of toxic additives. And I do not have time to go into all of this tonight. I wish I did, but these are just some of the things that we want to make sure that we're avoiding. Sugar, sugar beets and sugar cane is not the same thing as white table sugar. Artificial sweeteners, things like all of these things that you see here on the screen, even Truvia, which I know is the commercially made, synthetically altered version of stevia, which stevia is a whole plant that you can eat for a calorie-free sweetener. But things like Sweet and Low and Equal and Truvia and all of those others are not good. So you see the stevia plant, and there's stevia, and the raw is probably the only one that I would choose. Artificial sweeteners are terrible. They're excitotoxins, they're terrible for the brain, and so are things like flavor enhancers like MSG. And like I said, I can't go into a lot about that, but these are things, this is just another example of the way that we have become so arrogant in thinking that we can change things and we know what's better. Toxic fat, hydrogenated oil. Crisco is like the beginning of this whole genesis of hydrogenated oil. And it literally is taking an oil or a fat that is liquid at room temperature and adding a hydrogen molecule to it so it's solid at room temperature. It makes a great preservative, but it is incredibly toxic to our bodies. It increases the likelihood of cardiovascular disease, and there is a huge amount of link to the intake of hydrogenated oils and Alzheimer's disease. And we are seeing tons of people being diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease every single day. Genetic modification and factory farming is another problem. A cow should be grazing on grass and getting sunshine and fresh air and walking around. It shouldn't be stuck in a factory farm where it's eating grains and corn and things that it shouldn't be eating and being injected with hormones and antibiotics and all kinds of other horrible things. So these are just some of the ways that we have decided that we know better, right? So we really need to get back to what was God's original design for us to be eating. And that's what this is all about. So I want to talk a little bit about stewardship, because when we have stewardship, when we have good stewardship over our bodies, we are so much more able to take care of other people. And that's really what this is about. I don't know how many of you have long lists of people inside your churches that you're praying for because of illnesses that they have, that literally many of them are illnesses that could be avoided if they were following God's plan for the way that we should be eating. We need to be caretakers of the vessel that God gave us. And without that proper care, we simply cannot rise up to do what God intends for us. So yes, we want to pray for those sick believers, but we want to pray that they find the answers to be able to take responsibility for their health and follow God's plan, because there is a physical and spiritual connection. And we need to take care of ourselves so that we can be here in the future to care for others. So I love this scripture. If you're careful to follow these laws, then the Lord your God will keep his covenant of love with you. He will love you and bless you. He will bless the fruit of your womb. There is incredibly high rates of infertility right now that are directly related to the way that we're eating. A lot of the foods that I showed in those pictures. None of your men or women will be childless, and the Lord will keep you free from every disease. And I'm not claiming, by the way, that if you clean your diet up, you're going to become all of a sudden fertile myrtle. But I do have to tell you that I know lots of people who have made dramatic changes to the way they eat and have gone from having fertility issues to being able to bear a healthy baby. So, and that wasn't really what the scripture was all about, was just the fertility thing, but it's about following the laws, okay? And here's the problem though. We like to, let me see if I can make my thing scroll here. We like to follow the pattern of this world. If it feels good, do it, right? Food tastes so good. Wow, and you know what, you guys? It doesn't hurt us immediately. You can go through Burger King or McDonald's and get a delicious, juicy burger, and you don't feel the effects of it necessarily right away, unless it hurts your tummy because you're not used to eating that. But it's more, it's not necessarily true that if it feels good, we want to do it, right? A continual lust for more. We're really afraid to be deprived. Again, it goes back to, don't take it away from me. I don't take anything away from me. I don't want to be deprived. I want to eat whatever I want. The culture of lawlessness is really just about forgetting that God is the sovereign ruler of this world, and he is the one who created the food and provided us with exactly what we needed in order to live in a healthy way. And nobody's taking responsibility. We want to blame everything and everybody else. We want to call it a disease, and when we call it a disease, whether it's obesity or addiction or anything else, it immediately takes the responsibility off of us. But we need to take responsibility for our mindset of sin, as it relates to, disobeying God with relation to what we eat, and take the action that's necessary, right? So that's what this is all about. So here's what we can do. We can walk in obedience and freedom by following some simple things. So first of all, establishing goals. And I don't know what your goals are, what your health goals or challenges are, but maybe it relates to, going back to eating more of the fruits and veggies, or drinking more water, or moving your body a little bit, right? Just establishing some goals. And if you need some help in that area, I'm happy, at another time directly with you to talk through some of that with you. But not being confrontational with the people in your life that might want to sabotage you in your journey. And it really isn't about you trying to separate yourself or condemn them, because that's what's going to happen. Sometimes I tell you what, when I stopped eating meat about 10 or 12 years ago, and I really have tried to be pretty obedient to a lot of other dietary patterns that are different than some of my friends. And it's not about being confrontational with them. It's about just saying to them, look, this is something a choice that I've made for myself. And I really would love it if you could respect that and support me in it. And it may be forever, and it may be temporarily. In the Devoted Bodies class, there is a 40-day challenge in which we don't eat any animal products whatsoever, no dairy, no meat, nothing. And that's when it's really important to not be confrontational with the people in your life, and just ask them to come alongside you and love you and support you as you're going through that. Keeping company with like-minded people is a huge thing. That's really, really helpful. Moving your body, very important. And avoiding temptation by staying out of resistance mode. In other words, if it's not in the house, you don't have to resist it. And that's where planning ahead comes along. And then the last thing that I want to share with all of you is adding Juice Plus to your diet. So for those of you who are guests tonight, or who are watching this because you were invited by somebody, we are part of a community of Healthy Living Revolution. It is a worldwide movement where we want to help other people take their health back in simple ways. And probably the most profound thing is helping people get more plant foods into their bodies every day. And Juice Plus is a huge part of that. And so I'm going to spend a little time sharing with you about Juice Plus. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to the next slide. So basically what Juice Plus is whole food. It's fresh, raw fruits, veggies, and berries in a capsule. There's a plant-based omega. And this produce is harvested at the peak of ripeness. So that's where all the nutrition is formed. And so it's highly, highly nutritious. The plant powders are then blended and put into capsules or delicious chewables that little ones can eat. Actually, big ones can eat too. I have some adults in my house that love the gummies, including myself. And then we've got the Omega Blend, and that is a whole plant food product. There is absolutely no fish in there. So lots of people are being told by their physician that they need to be eating a fish oil capsule, but they don't like the fish burps that they get. So we've completely bypassed the fish and gone straight to the algae that the fish eat to become rich in omega-3s, and then added lots of other healthy omega-rich plant foods so that we get the full spectrum. So it's amazing. And this is just all the different plants that you get in your body when you eat Juice Plus every day. There's also a plant-based protein powder that has whole foods in it, okay? Again, the whole foods that God put on this earth for us to eat in their whole form. It is amazing. And it is filled with protein, fiber, and healthy whole grain carbohydrates. So it keeps you very, very satisfied. And I love that it has soy in it. It's got several different plant-based proteins in it, but soy is actually very protective for women's health. And so if you've got questions about that, I'd love to answer those for you afterwards. But there's a few things that are really important for you to know. Juice Plus is food, it's not a vitamin. And we can talk a little bit about the science behind vitamins versus whole food, but the bottom line is that whole food is going to give you all of the nutrients that are in those plants. not just isolated, fragmented nutrients that our body doesn't know how to absorb. It is third-party certified to be pure and clean. We know that the NSF certification protects us and makes sure that we are not getting any contaminants, pesticides, or banned substances. It's safe for everybody of all ages, and it is the most researched product in the world. So this is just a little bit about the research, where it's been done, the type of research that it is. We hand the product over to these research institutions and they do the research. We have no control over the outcome. So this is not like some supplement companies that are out there that say, we've got an in-house research team, and then they control everything that comes out of their research studies. We hand it over and they do the research, and it's amazing. We have over 40 studies now. So these are just some of the things that we know happen. And you guys, again, I want to point back to the fact that this is the food that God put on this earth for us to eat in a little bit more condensed package. And it's not the Juice Plus that's so miraculous, it's our bodies that are so miraculous. Our bodies can heal when they're given the proper nutrition. So this nutrition gets into the body, it is bioavailable. Our hearts are healthier, our immune system is balanced, our DNA is protected and healthier. We have less oxidative stress and damage in our bodies, which relates to healthier skin and healthier gums, less systemic inflammation. There's actually been a study done on quality of life in cancer survivors and overweight boys. It improves abdominal fat mass and metabolism, and actually supports healthy lung function in smokers, which we don't want anybody to be smoking anymore, but if they are, we want them to be on Juice Plus for sure, because they're going to have healthier lungs. There's a program that enables families to get Juice Plus for free for their children. And it actually isn't free. The person who brings, takes the order for the adult actually helps to subsidize the cost for the child. And that's how much we believe in what we're doing here. But we see amazing results in these children. They're getting sick less often, they're missing less school, they're taking less medication. So children, and it doesn't matter how old they are, it's safe for any child of any age, but a child has to be 4 years old or older, all the way up through full-time undergrad college, to be able to participate in the study and get free Juice Plus. And then one last thing, the Tower Garden. The Tower Garden really is the opportunity for those of us who are gardeners. And this is a great time of the year to be thinking about our gardens. But I also can tell you that I don't want to have anything to do with weeding. And so my Tower Gardens are amazing. I have one in my kitchen and one on my deck. The one on my deck will go out probably in the next 4 weeks or so. But the one in my kitchen has been growing my kale and lettuce and celery and parsley and chives and rosemary and basil and all kinds of beautiful things all winter long. So 98% less water and 90% less space, and it's delicious. So you can ask the person who invited you if you want to know more about that. But you know, we are doing this because we're so incredibly proud and so excited about the results that we've had for our families. So when I learned about this, I got involved because I felt morally obligated. I couldn't know about this incredible nutrition and not share it with the people around me. So if you're thinking about people that you love that need to hear this message, ask the person who invited you tonight how you can get involved with us. We need more people out there we need more boots on the ground sharing this message. And now is an incredible time to do that, you guys, with the coronavirus and people working from home, losing income, being afraid of being unhealthy and getting sick and not knowing how they can protect their immune systems. Our company is experiencing incredible growth. We are all part of this company who've invited you tonight. And so incredible growth because we offer 3 incredible things: health, we offer financial options, and we offer an amazing community, as you can tell from this call tonight. So our health is a journey. It's not a destination. And I just hope that you can focus on the freedom that you are gaining through this process, or that you will gain through this process, to worship God and not food, and to eat as much as you want, to think about food less, like maybe only when you're hungry, and adopt His central provisions as you're able. So maybe drinking more water, eating more fruits and vegetables, enjoying legumes and starches, and minimizing high calorie, low nutrient dense foods. And encourage yourself with the second half of Galatians 5:1. Stand firm then, and do not let yourself be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. It's your job to trust, and it's God's job to do. And so if you will trust the provision that he's given us, you can have complete freedom and not have to worry anymore about being a slave to the food on your table or what's on the end of your fork. So that is all I have. And I will open it up. I'm gonna let you guys, let's see if I can stop the screen share here. I did stop the screen share. And you can unmute yourselves if you've got any questions. I'd love to be able to answer questions for you guys if you have any. I hope that was worth your while to be on tonight.
Thank you, Michelle.